What is the most insensitive thing you've ever been asked? Soon after I got home from cremating my child, someone asked if the cremation left chunks of bone and, if so, do they grind that down? Thankfully I saw the humor in it, largely because I could see his wife wanted to kill him. This is something you ask the employees at the funeral home, not to the attendees of the funeral. I worked as a waiter for a few years in high school. Elderly gentleman came up to me and asked, is it okay to be dealing with food with all that acne? My parents had a restaurant and they hired this sweet little 14-year-old who was super keen to work. She had a birth deformity in her hands that left her with one thumb and one finger on each hand. She would deliver the plates one at a time, for obvious reasons. A rude old man obviously didn't look at her hands and lectured her on how if she wants to succeed as a waitress she needs to learn to carry multiple plates. She nodded and was polite and continued to wait on them. My dad didn't want to embarrass her further by making a big deal in front of her, but when the table left he followed them out and informed the rude old dude about her hands. All his family were super embarrassed and they haven't ever come back. Why did you give him the money? My manager's response to me telling her I got robbed at gunpoint in our store. I know, at that moment I just felt that maybe my life was more important. Don't most businesses have the policy to give up all cash ASAP and not to put up a fight or defend the cash and merchandise? They asked how my daughter was murdered. I said a knife. They then said, but I mean how? You found her, tell me how. What did she look like? Was she tortured? Let me show you. I'm so sorry for your loss and all of the horrible shit you've had to put up with. Wishing you the best, Black Heart. I have a seizure-like disorder, choreoathetosis. They present themselves in these really inconvenient episodes where I lose partial control of body parts. One time, I was on a date with a dude, and after I told him of my situation he said, wow, it'd be pretty hot to have you seize while we're fucking. Think you could arrange that? Didn't bother with him after that. Your partner is having a seizure. Do you, A, fetishize their medical condition and go down on them right then and there, B, call a fucking ambulance? My ex-mill ran into me and asked when I was due. Thing is, she knew I had miscarried a child with her son, one of the reasons we split up, and also knew because of that I could not have children. I just happened to have a still slightly swollen abdomen after a full and total hysterectomy at the time. Needless to say, I had a very hormonal and emotional response. Well, aren't you happy you had a miscarriage then, or you'd be a single mom now? Asked by my mom while trying to comfort me after my fiancé cheated. Yeah, no, actually, a late traumatic miscarriage plus depression plus hormones does not make me happy even if he did cheat. But thanks. Please tell me you stabbed her. You have anorexia, right? I have been told I have anorexia to my face. Like, you have anorexia. It isn't a question or anything. And that was before I had my eating disorder. I broke my back when I was a teenager and am paralyzed from the waist down. A girl from school asked me, are you planning on killing yourself? Me, what? No. Why would I kill myself? It's just. If I was in your situation. Well, her life must have sucked to begin with. One of my first psychologists literally told me that she would kill herself if she went through the same shit as me. Needless to say, I didn't see her again, but yeah, I relate. Lol. One time someone asked, adoptive father, isn't your real dad, right? No shit, he's not my biological parent. But he is still my dad nonetheless. What a hurtful thing to say. I had a friend who was adopted. One time I was out with him and his mother shopping and someone said, he isn't your real child, right? After he called her mom. He is tan and has Latin American traces and she is very white. Her reply was priceless, this isn't your real problem. My brother's high school chem teacher had a C-section. A student asked her, do you think you deserve the child if you couldn't have her naturally? When I told my mother I finally had a girlfriend, her reply was pretty classic. I recommend you be very cautious of any girl that's interested in you. What do you really have to offer? Not much. Gee, thanks mom. I guess the girl was really just after my kidneys. Edit, for the record, I love my mom. This was her misguided way of being overprotective of her naive youngest son. Also for the record, I do have a lot to offer and I have a smoking hot wife who's not trying to sell my kidneys on the black market. As far as I know. When I was 16 I got asked by some random guy at my aunt's house if I knew that I was prettier when I wasn't smiling. I've always been self-conscious of my teeth and he made it so much worse. I'm 28 now and still hate them but will at least smile in some picture. Insulting someone's smile or laugh is a horrible thing to do. It takes a lot of joy away when you remember it. I am Filipina. When I first met my partner's half-brothers, one of them asked me if I already have my green card. As the night went on, one of them also joked and told me I looked like the typical male bride that they see online. My partner and I were high school sweethearts. I was petitioned by my father and the process took 14 years before we were granted citizenship. So hearing that made my heart hurt for my family and their hard work just to get us here in the US. Are you self-conscious about? Well, you can just guarantee that didn't play out very well, especially in the long term. Wow. This question would eat me alive for the rest of my life. As a 19-year-old disabled woman, I've been asked tons of insensitive things. The most is probably a tie between someone asking me if I'm using a walker for the perks, and if I'm faking my disability for better accommodation at university. I can't handwrite, can barely walk without assistance, and can't stand for periods of time. What are the perks and where can I get them? I get this a lot too. I've got fibromyalgia amongst a collection of other shitty conditions, so life sucks, and it sometimes feels like I get questioned and judged every time I leave the house. Just because you can't see what's wrong with me doesn't mean I'm taking it. My dad to me, did you get fat so I wouldn't molest you? Usually it takes more words to say so many fucked up things. What the actual fuck? I had a mandatory one-on-one meeting with my high school counselor about college prep, and the first thing he does when I walk in is scan me with his eyes and says, well, I guess we don't need to worry about filing your college athletics form now, do we? And put the form I came in there for to swim in college back in his desk. Edit, there appears to be some confusion. I'm a male and the counselor was implying I was scrawny, and ultimately I decided not to swim in college because the school I chose was D1 and feeds directly into the US Olympic swim team and I'm not that good, haha. Mean ass prick. Why don't you just have a baby? Asked a day after I told her I had a miscarriage. After seeing so many miscarriage-related posts in this thread, I am genuinely starting to think that a lot of people might not actually know what a miscarriage is. Father-in-law asked me if my husband and if we were eating okay while at college. My response was yeah, we're able to make ends meet and get groceries and even have a little money left over. His response was yeah, I can tell you've been eating plenty. Looks like you ate the whole damn grocery store. I was 5 feet 4 inches and weighed 110 pounds. Sounds like a real charmer. Hope the apple fell far from the tree with that one. What did you do to cause that? After I told a female friend of my ex-boyfriend he cheated on me. Wow. That takes a special kind of assholery. Now that your father is gone, you can have your own life. Are you going to have kids? Asked to me by an older cousin at my dad's wake. His body, a few feet away from us in a casket. No, I would much rather have my father alive than dead at 63 years old. The sincerest condolences an internet stranger can give. How did you respond? Why did you tell me and what did you do to make him do it? Asked by a family member after I told them about the abuse I suffered from my ex-husband, finally felt safe to talk about it after 6 years, and that was the response. Wow. Strange to think strangers on the internet are more caring than your own family sometimes. Hope you're doing okay. Do you not wash your back? I used to have terrible back knee before I figured out how to get it under control. Somebody said this to me after we had had sex. Are you going to make your sister's death a national holiday? This was because my sister died at 43, the first significant loss ever in my life. This was the 1-year anniversary of her death, and I knew it would be hard for me, so I requested the day off of work. This was a co-worker who could name all of the people she lost, so she bragged. Since her brother died at age 14, and she said she knew like 30 people who had died since then. I used to put up with her weird quirks, but from that day on I hated her, and didn't remain friendly with her. It was the 1-year anniversary of the last time I saw my dad alive before he died suddenly of a stroke. I was visibly off that day at work, and when I told my boss that was why I was upset, he asked, when are you going to stop using your dead dad as an excuse? ETA, I worked for him for a lot longer than I should have after a comment like that, but I am working for much better people now. What an asshole. Subscribe for more hot Reddit takes in your inbox, guaranteed.